Also, the bark is used to cure diabetes. Fruits are edible, and it has a good tannin content, so it is used in the tannin production, in dye production. Then there is a Exocaria agalocha, which is known as milky mangrove. So yeah, this species have very common names like blind your eye mangrove. This is also known as blind your eye mangrove and poison fish tree. You know why I tell you? Because when the latex gets in contact with skin, it causes irritation first of all, and if it gets in contact with your eyes, it can cause temporary blindness. So that is why this mangrove blind your eye mangroves, and why poison used the latex is used in fish poisoning. Even the dried and powder leaves retain the poison and can kill fish very quickly. And those who know how to make it, so they usually use this kill fishes. So there are various medicinal properties as well. They Exocaria agalocha, this milky mangroves, is used in the treatment of epilepsy, ulcers, leprosy, rheumatism, and paralysis as well. So then there is the Aegiceras corniculatum. Okay, that is also known as river mangrove. Yeah, talking about this species, it has a really good. We can obtain a really good quality of honey out of it. The seed and bark again used as a fish poison, you know, and it has some analgesic property which supports a fight against diabetes. So yeah, there are medicinal properties, and there are some areas in South India, which South India and Sundarban, they obtain a good amount of honey out of this. And in Mumbai area, called it as mirchi mangrove, because as you can see, the fruits looks like a mirchi. Mirchi means chili. The fruits look like, that's why we call it as mirchi mangrove. Then there is a Cereops tegal. Cereops tegals is known as tegal mangrove or yellow mangrove. The mangrove wood is known to be very hard, no water permeability and resistant, resistance. So it is a very heavy wood, and we can make a very attractive. Many people make very attractive timber, various furniture out of it, and some people used to make boats and houses and fence out of it. Flowers are really small. You can see they are white, leathery, and you will always find in a terminal clusters. The flowers you will find in terminal clusters. So then there is another species. As the name suggests, Sundari, it is really beautiful. Sundari means beautiful, you know, and the tip is pointed, the leaf tip is pointed, as you can see, and the upper surface of leaf is smooth and shiny. You know, the roots are again used as a fish poison, and the decoction of roots is used to treat mouth infection and toothache. Okay, we are not going to do this on our own because we don't know how to use it. I'm just telling this property just for your information. And the seed extract is used to treat the diarrhea and dysentery. And as you can see how beautiful the flowers are, these are very tiny flowers, and you will find this species mostly in West Bengal, the Sundarban areas. Okay, so let's go to the associated plants. So this mangrove true species we have seen commonly all across the India, and mangrove associated plants. First one is the persica, which is we called it as meswak or siwak. Okay, in Arabic means sticks for rubbing the teeth. Okay, and you know chewing this persica, the salvadora sticks, is an effective medicine in oral hygiene. It keeps our teeth clean and prevent tooth decay. Salvadora persica, also known as pilu or meswak, is a is a plant which has anti-inflammatory, analgesic, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-ulcer, antioxidant properties. You know, so a very important medicinal plant as well. And these fruits are eaten by birds. You know, people say that the fruits have narcotic properties, so that so the birds, once they eat the fruits, large number of fruits, they get little high on these fruits as well. And we can also you can also try these fruits on your own risk, okay, but these are edible. Then there is a very interesting fact about this Salvadora persica, that this is the host plant for small salmon Arab butterfly, which is a mangrove associated butterfly. Okay, so a small salmon Arab butterfly, and as you can see, there are the caterpillars of the, and this is the butterfly. So, the sad thing about Salvadora persica is, we think that when we see the in the local market, people are buying the Salvadora sticks or the neem stick. We call it as old fashioned and we don't buy it, right? But when it comes in modern packaging, as you can see here, this picture is taken from very good online shopping platform, right? So, and this is not even eco-friendly. As you can see, it is in plastic, right? So we call it as old fashioned, which we get hardly for some bucks, and we spend hundreds and hundreds of bucks on this modern eco-friendly packaging. So we should go for the local, things, without calling it old fashioned. Then there is a Sisuvium portulacastrum, which is also known as sea personal. Okay, very beautiful flower. It produces is a yellowish flower, and this is also used as a vegetable fodder. But as when we use it as a vegetable, we have to boil, because it is extremely salty. We have to boil for 2 to 3 times before we actually have it, right? And as you can see, the leaves has thick and fleshy succulent texture. Then there is a Acanthus illicipolus, a very beautiful plant. The flowering is not there, but flowers are, blue violet in color. This plant sometimes cover, large area, and this is the pollution tolerant species as well. The leaves have spiny edges when the plants are growing in open and sunny areas, but it can be totally spineless when it grows in shade. The roots are used in the treatment of fever, cough, asthma, rheumatism, paralysis, and there are mangrove dwellers. They also believe that the chewing of these leaves can be a remedy for snake bite and scorpion bite as well. So yes, this a plant is also have a medicinal property. Then there is a Clerodendron irami, which is also a garden plant, which is we call it as Indian privet. The this plant is usually planted in gardens to make edges, and leaf juice is used to bring down the fever. This is the host plant for gull and crow butterflies. There are species of butterflies known as gull and crows, and these flowers are visited by bees and butterfly. The pollinator is hawk moth. This pollinator of this flower is hawk moth. So these were all the mangrove associated species which you can commonly found across India. Then we'll see what are the ecological importance of mangroves. A minute. So the mangroves are carbon sequesters. You know, there is a term known as blue carbon, the carbon captured by the world's ocean and the coastal ecosystem. Okay, there are sea grasses, mangroves, salt marshes along our coast, which captures and hold the carbon and acting something called carbon sink. What they do, they just store the atmospheric carbon into their biomass, right? And I see here in this picture, protecting 1 hectare of mangrove can store up to 1000 tons of carbon, can give us approximately $1,000 tourism value. This is in dollar. You can convert it in rupees. Tourism value per year, and it protects approximately 25%, 20 more 25% more coral and fish and threatened species, because it is a very good breeding ground and feeding ground for this very fish and many threatened species. And it reduce 50% storm impacts. So these are the ecological importance of this mangroves. Yeah, as I said that many fishes, crabs, and many other organisms, many crustaceans, uh, you know prefer this mangrove area as their breeding ground, because they feel really safe. There is a lot of food availability. There is lot of space in which they and their babies feel safe. So they prefer this mangrove as a breeding ground for them. And there are so many threatened species, which threatened and vulnerable species, uh, which also have adapted to the mangroves as their breeding ground. Then there is a feeding ground for birds. They are also a feeding ground of birds. As you can see, the soil, the mangrove soil, the mangrove habitat is rich in organic matter. And when they are rich in organic matter, there are so many microorganisms in the organic matter. There are so many algae and other organisms in the water as well. So the birds like flamingos, they come to this area just to feed, just to feed. And last count of counted the flamingos in Mumbai area, right, in the Thane Creek and those part. So we counted approximately more than 1 lakh flamingo in this mangrove habitat. They just come there for the feeding. Not only this flamingos are migratory birds. Other than this, many migratory birds come in the mangrove area just for feeding. There are so many birds. As you can see, there is a pied, I was said. There are various types of ibis and raptors. They also come in the mangrove area just for feeding. There are some birds which have adapted this mangrove habitat as their home. They live in the mangrove habitat. They breed in the mangrove habitat as well, because there is a lot of food availability. Then there is a very huge and pristine mammal like the Royal Bengal tiger, which have also in the mangrove area. Animal has you know uh, this tiger has adapted this mangrove area as its like habitat. So you will find the Royal Bengal tiger, and they grow there. They have evolved with the mangrove areas, mangrove trees. Then there are very very small creatures like crabs, shrimps, small fishes. They feed on the mangrove leaf litter. The mangrove leaf litter known as detritus. It has various kind of fungi and bacteria. So these small animals like shrimps, crabs, small fishes, they feed on it. And the big fishes, the birds will feed on this small animal, and like that the food chain goes on. They are also guardian of our coast. We spend a lot and lots of money on the coastal evacuation in relief funds, right? Once we face cyclone or tsunami, all those things, natural disasters. But conservation of mangroves, mangrove, and letting them do their job costs nothing. you know just let them be, and they will do their job. We don't have to spend a lot and lots of money in coastal evacuation and relief funds. And they will help us, to they will protect us from these natural disasters. Then there is a economical importance of mangrove as well. There is a fisheries, We get timber and fuel from the mangroves. Then coastal protection. Then there is a tourism, water purification as well, because mangroves can tolerate pollution. They can filter the pollutant, heavy metals, and all those things. So they also helps in water purification and carbon storage as well. The marginal effect of mangroves on fish production in India is 1.86 tons per hectare per year. you know Mangroves contribution in marine fish input in India was 23% in last decade. So it's a really huge number. And collect collect timber, fuel wood, honey from the mangroves. And as you can see, the first photograph is rhizophora. The prop roots have been cut, and it is used for fuel wood. The bottled ring from of Sonaria is taken out. It is sell in the local market as in summer. It is mostly they drink mostly because it has vitamin C, and also it acts as a coolant. Then there are of Soneraceae species fruits in the local market. Then there is a fin and shellfish production from the mangrove area. They are sell in local market. G, right? So this is how mangroves. Then there is livelihood generation. Mangrove attract lakhs and lakhs of tourists every year, not only in India but across world where there are mangroves. It creates a good livelihood for people who stays near mangrove area and many others. Even we in BNHS takes field camps in mangrove area to see the mangrove habitat, to see very different types of birds, right? We take them in the mangrove area. We take a boat ride. So the people who run the boat, who guide us, they get paid. Let us see what are the threats to this urban expansion. Urban expansion. We have already India has already lost 40% of mangrove in last century, and due to this urban expansion, tourist area development, and other infrastructure, we are still losing the mangroves. Then there is the aquaculture, with 3 billion people around the world which are dependent upon seafood as their primary source of protein. Aquaculture involves creation of extensive pond system in intertidal areas. Just like this, they cut down the mangroves. Nowadays, in if you can see in Gujarat, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Odisha, then there is Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu. We practice and crab culture in cost of these mangroves. We cut down the mangroves, we create such ponds, and we grow our aquaculture there. Then there is a agriculture. The flat, I've already told you that this land, the mangrove habitat, is rich in organic content, right? So this flat and rich organic soils of uh, they are prime location for the agriculture. Convert into this. They cut the mangrove forest and they convert this land into culture, and they grow their rice paddies and palm oil plants for the oil oil production. Then there is a grazing by animal. Sheep, goats, camels. They are kept as a stock in some dry coastal areas of Asia, and these animals often graze on mangroves because of their palatability. Grazing can sometimes cause significant damage to these plants. There is a pollution. Mangrove patches in the cities like Kolkata are really getting affected by the discharge of large amount of solid waste. You know, Sometimes effluents from the various sources like industries and household. The pollution has been, they have made the habitat difficult for mangrove to survive and growth. They are pollution tolerant, but sometimes they cannot tolerate this amount of pollution, and they die. Over harvesting, the mangroves are are of the considerable importance to commercial fisheries. So people over harvest the fishes. They don't only over harvest the fishes, but They are also mangroves are also over harvested for their timber, in and all production. Then there are some environmental factors as well. Mangroves are influenced by the environmental factors like extreme weather, wave action. There are plant diseases, right? They can greatly affect the mangrove forest. Mangrove can absorb and reduce the some amount of strong winds, large wave floods, but they get severely damaged in that process. Tsunami is highly destructive for this mangrove forest, but still they do their job and they protect us from this tsunamis and other cyclones. Sometimes they are attacked by caterpillars and the insects and diseases on plants. So, what can we do? What can we do to protect mangroves? You and me, the common people, what we can do to protect this unique species, unique habitat? We can volunteer, in mangrove plantation. There are so many organizations, various NGOs are nowadays working in mangrove restoration. So you can help them in mangrove plantation. There is a scientific way of mangrove plantation. We cannot go and directly plant the mangroves, so they need manpower. So you can definitely join in various mangrove plantation drive, mangrove cleanup drives as well. Then we can train local for sustainable habits. Again, you can volunteer in organization which provide the training to local people for their sustainable habits. So once they get livelihood from this sustainable habit, they will not go and cut the mangrove. They won't go and damage the mangrove forest, right? Legislation, we have the Indian Forest Act 1927 and the Wildlife Protection Act 1972, which protect the mangrove forest. And this Indian Forest Act has been applied to mangrove forest of Sundarban and various mangroves which are now declared as a reserved areas. So we can also, you know, and then there is a monitoring and surveys. Forest departments are usually doing aerial surveys, but we can help in land surveys as well, because uh, uh, how you will do it? Whenever you are going in the mangrove area, you have to just see and report any malpractices or illegal activities happening in the mangrove area, which helps the forest department in the monitoring of this mangrove. Okay, you just have to report if you find any malpractices or any illegal activities in the mangrove forest. You can inform the local forest department about it, and you can help in monitoring. Then there is a awareness, is the key of conservation. When you aware, when you educate people about this thing, and the main aim of celebrating this day is to create awareness, right, about the conservation and the about this mangrove habitat. So make awareness about this mangrove habitat by visiting the mangrove area, by taking people to mangrove area, by explaining them the importance and uses of this mangrove will create this small step can create a lots lots of awareness, and it will help in mangrove conservation. Then there is a ecotourism. Ecotourism allows tourists to appreciate the surrounding nature. They will when we do ecotourism in mangrove area, people will appreciate mangroves. They will learn about this unique system. They will uh, enhance the biodiversity conservation. Once the local people commits to the changes in ways of utilizing the resources, so they have benefited, and from this ecotourism, they will not, they will take care of this ecosystem as their own, as their livelihood, right? So we have to raise awareness about this ecotourism, and then there are to see the mangroves. What are the places you can visit in India? First of all, the Vikhroli mangrove, which is also known as Godrej mangroves. They are situated in Vikhroli area, which is the first, you can say, the private mangrove forest in Asia. Okay. Vikhroli mangroves. Then there is a mangrove marine biodiversity center again in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai. Then you can visit Maharashtra coast like Sindhudurga district, Ratnagiri district. Achra is there, right? In the Sindhudurga district, you can visit the coast. You can visit the Salim which is in Goa. Then there is a Gujarat coast. It has a they are also restoring the mangroves. You can see the restoration work there. The run of Kutch, Gulf of Kutch, the Gulf of Khambat, Saurashtra coast, and South Gujarat coast. Then there is a Pichavaran, the second largest mangrove forest. Then Bhitarkarnika Wildlife Sanctuary, Sundarban, the largest mangrove forest in India, and then Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So you can definitely visit these places. And this is my personal experience that you won't get disappointed by visiting the mangrove forest. You can the trees are there is always activities are there. There are insects, there are birds around. There are various things you can notice in the mangrove forest, so you won't get disappointed by visiting mangrove forest. And with that said, I'll stop my presentation here. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience, and we can open this forum for the question and answers. Any
Yeah. Thank you, Priyanka, for this informative session. I am hoping to get questions in the chat box now. Meanwhile, I will read the previous questions that are already typed in the chat box. It is from Mr. Sriranga Joshi. He is asking why the vast majority of mangroves are located in tropics or temperate climate.
because of the habitat, it has a you know the habitat is like that. That's why the mangroves are all located, and the favorable conditions. Mangrove cannot live in extreme what you can say cold areas, right? So as I said, they can grow from 25 degrees north to 25 degrees south, and the can bear is from 20 degrees or something like that to 45 degrees, or like 45 degrees. So the like that, that's why they are there in tropical areas. Yes, tropical areas.
Okay. Uh, Next question is from Jyotika Biju. Is it possible for mangroves to grow in freshwater habitats?
Yes, yes. As I said, they are evolved from the fresh water, so they can grow very well. Uh, Much better condition in the fresh water than the water they are already in the saline water. They can grow much better in fresh water, but they have adapted to that area, saline area, and let them grow there. We are not supposed to plant them in the fresh water because they have already adapted and their habitat is that.
Okay. Uh, Next question is from Mr. Srirang Joshi again. Can mangroves forest tolerate ocean acidification?
Mangrove forest tolerate ocean acidification.
Yeah.
Just a minute. Let me see. Sorry, I didn't get the question. Let me go back and see. Oh, no, I don't have idea about this. I'm sorry.
Okay. Uh, Next question is from Anand. Can they be transplanted as such areas, not tractionally having mangroves?
When we think about replantation, when we think about restoration, first we have to study the area where we are supposed to replant them. Okay, if you see there were mangrove already, which species you are trying to replant there, then you can definitely replant there. Okay, but you cannot replant the mangrove species which were not there. So if the mangrove species were already there, you can replant them. Yes.
Okay. Next question is from Ashwit Shetty. What is the difference between very dense, moderately dense, and open mangrove?
So I think you are talking about the height. Okay, dense, moderate, and open mangroves. So the dense mangroves, there are, as mangroves are, they are grooves. They grows in a group of trees. They grows as a group of trees. So dense mangrove will have, you can say, same species of mangroves growing densely in a particular area. Okay, in open area you can see the seawards area where there are patches of mangroves, there comes in open sea area. And moderately dense, which consist normal, like some different types of species, you know different types of species grows in a area. So this is the difference. That's it.
Next question is from Rajesh. Can you name the NGOs working in Mumbai?
Yes, there are NGOs. There is a institution, Mangrove Foundation, which is currently working in mangrove restoration. So there is another NGO known as Vanashakti, which is also working for mangrove restoration. Yeah, these two, they are working in the mangrove in Mumbai for the mangroves. And other than BNHS also work, in Ratnagiri and Sindhudurga coast for mangrove. In Maharashtra, if you can say, BNHS is also working on mangrove restoration and conservation.
Okay. Next question is from Debabrata Das. Can we consider the mangroves as a perfect biological indicator?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can, because they indicate, yeah, they can also indicate the climate change, global warming. So yeah, you can consider it as a climate indicator.
Next question is from Arundhati. Uh, she says, I have read that saltwater crocodiles also inhabit the mangroves. What is that attract crocodiles to inhibit such ecosystem?
First of all, the habitat and the food availability.
Can you name any institution working with mangrove plantation in Gujarat?
In Gujarat, I have to see. No, you can. I'll let you know afterwards in Gujarat which organizations are working. I'll let you. May I know the name? Who asked the question?
Her name is Dhara Tuteja.
Okay, if you are on WhatsApp, I'll let you know which all organization which are working in the mangrove in Gujarat.
Okay. Uh, I guess we have reached the end of this question. Any more questions? Okay. Mr. Krishnendu is asking,
Yes.
uh, there are scientific methods of planting mangroves. Can you give an account on that?
Yes, there are lots of scientific ways the plantation of mangrove. First is the plantation. First you grow the sampling in nursery, and then you replant in the area which you have already studied. Okay, which you want to replant it in. I'll give you a couple of ways. Okay, not all. And then there is a very unique um, technique used in the Gujarat, which is only used in the Gujarat and which is really successful. That they grow the mangroves the mangrove saplings directly into the soil, directly into the soil. So they don't grow the saplings in the nursery and then they plant. They directly grow, and which is very successful. I can't explain you the entire process, but if you can read the Gujarat model, it is known as Gujarat model. So yeah, it is very successful. These are the two which I can say right now.
Okay. I guess we have reached the end of the question and answer. Ms. Sushmita, would you like to take over?
Yes, thank you, Virat. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Priyanka for such a lovely presentation. I'm sure our participants have thoroughly enjoyed and gained useful information through this event. And as there are many more queries remaining, I would like Ms. Priyanka to provide with a contact or an email ID to our participants in the chat box where they can reach you out in case of any
Yes,
query.
absolutely. I'm sorry I haven't provided in the presentation. I forgot it, but I have already typed my email ID in the chat box. It's p.zundre@bnhs.org. So please reach out to me if you have any queries. I'll try my best to resolve all your queries.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And participants, we have also provided you with the presentation, feedback link in the chat box itself. So please provide your feedbacks on the same. And on behalf of BNHS and WIS, as part of the concluding remarks, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. I would like to thank Mr. Nandkishore Dude, Program Officer, Mr. Suraj Kosafi, IT Officer, and Mr. Viraj Atle, Data Entry Operator, for the technical support during this event and guiding through the question answer session. And we hope you found this information and dialogue valuable in supporting a noble cause, which will further aid in the conservation and preservation of our planet and these mangrove ecosystems. So, on an ending note, I wish you all a very happy weekend. Thank you.